So just to start out with, thanks for your time, and also I'm going to explain briefly about the purposes of this interview. So
Okay.
basically, for this class, it's called Learning Media Design. We're working with local school districts and also like informal learning spaces to sort of help them design their maker curriculum. So you've heard of the maker movement, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so basically, we're trying to sort of figure out how to incorporate the portfolio making process within these maker projects to
Okay.
sort of get at the assessment piece for the teachers, as well
Mhm.
as just having something like for the students to be able to show and keep throughout like their own journey of design or whatever
Well,
they plan to do.
I don't know if like this is necessarily what you guys are going for, but for at least
Mhm.
for in my experience in
Mhm.
design school, portfolio is just like I guess it's like a fancy word of saying like organize your work. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Right.
And for us, I guess for us, like we have in Parsons, if you're in Parsons fashion,
Mhm.
there's something you take along with your fashion courses. That's a core class called VC design, which is
Mhm.
communication design, which is essentially like a portfolio class. So but I don't know how you guys are here because for us in portfolio class, I think the organization process itself is something I think that's the easiest step. But really, I think more of what they teach you is like layout, like how to make it more aesthetically pleasing and
Mhm.
professional. I feel like that was the basic gist of portfolio class. Is that like, oh, like I think like your professor will look over your portfolio and be like, oh, like all these fonts need to be the same. Like, oh, like you need to like swap out for better photos or like
Mhm.
better resolution, blah blah. And like part of portfolio is that we need to have a physical printed one.
Mhm.
That we I don't know because like I get that everything is very digital now, and I think like many designers in the US are about like digital medium,
Mhm.
and they present their work in a digital manner. But it's actually really important, at least like in my experience, that you have a physical portfolio because there's something about like the physical. There's like a better impact because I think sometimes digitally your work doesn't translate very well
Mhm.
until it's like printed out on like printed media. And I know in Europe, like the majority of interviews are all physical portfolios. Like they don't really accept like digital.
So when you say physical, are you speaking more about printed paper rather than like the actual clothes themselves?
So for yeah, so it depends because for Julia, obviously for product you can't carry on your product.
Mhm.
But for us, it depends on what you want to specialize in. Like what are we going to interview for? So, for example, if you want to do print design, which is you create like different prints, obviously,
Mhm.
like different patterns. Yeah, like you probably have. It's good to have those prints printed out just in a book, binded. So when you go in for the interview, you can just show them like and go through like, oh, like this is like a print I did for like blah blah, or like oh I like this is like batik dye, this is blah, like you want to show off you have different techniques.
Mhm.
And then I have a friend who does knitting, and I know for her like obviously she has to have a physical portfolio because there's no other way like they can really see your work because I think a lot of fashion is still about craftsmanship. Like a lot of the jobs out there are still about like crafting because it's possible for them to hire a sample maker
Mhm.
and things like that. Whereas I think product is a little bit more difficult because now it's you have rendering and things, so it's probably not that important. Um, and then for us, like I think for fashion itself, it's also a little bit different. Actually, I think for a lot of design majors, it's like this because at the end of the day, like your end product for us is like a magazine. You know, like your work goes into a magazine. It is a printed medium.
Mhm.
So I think you want to relate that with people when you go on interviews to show like this is how I like even when we do portfolio like our professor asks like well how would which where would this go in a magazine, like where do you see them just taking this and like throwing it in, you know, like so we have to create that with that in mind,
Mhm.
that like for us when we do our portfolio pages like we have to have them set up so we can just email them to like a company, like a magazine or like online publishing site or something, and like they don't have to do that much editing to it. They can just throw it in and it'll make sense.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and then I don't know. I guess like portfolio isn't that complicated, but there's just like a lot of small steps that go into thinking about how to organize it.
Okay. So thanks for going through all that, especially the part about like the fashion design and basically the ultimate goal of trying to get it into a magazine. I'm guessing that's why you have an editorial page on your website.
Yeah, yeah. But editorial is also okay, so for us, like obviously you want your clothes to be printed or like so to speak press,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's like in a show or like in a music video or like in media, I guess, how
Mm-hmm.
it circulates. And it's really important to have editorial section just to show like how your clothes can work in a more avant-garde environment, I suppose. Or like you can show people like this is how I imagine my clothes working. But I mean, it's not always like that. People will take your pieces and like do what they want with them. But yeah, and I think it's also very important to have an editorial section because I mean, for all designers, it's especially after graduation in school. But I don't know, you guys probably don't need to worry about this.
Mm-hmm.
So, but for us, like design identity and artistic identity is very important. Like self-branding is super important. That's something that is constantly stressed for us. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure if that's something that you'll really need in your like I'm not sure. Do you guys want to curate these people to curate themselves for like in like you know what I mean? Like for like oh I think the end goal is like to have a further understanding of self, although that sounds very strange. Like
That's a goal, honestly, but I'm not sure like balancing all the stakeholders' perspectives, like, oh, there are these school administrators, and also there are the teachers trying to actually implement the curriculum, and then there are the students just trying to like do stuff in class, like how much we'll be able to do that, but that's definitely a goal.
okay, but like so if that's a goal, then like keep in mind that like but I don't know, it's hard because like I will say this isn't hard part because like I've had 4 years of this. So I think at this point it's like it has to be one of my goals and you most likely know what direction you want to go in. But I think if it's just a design course, it's hard to have like a person understand, I suppose, like what direction you want to go in because you're still kind of figuring that out. So I guess like if the goal is for them to have some stylistic and like personal choice, you could encourage that, like just have them like I think a helpful thing is that like they can go look on Behance and a lot of people have their portfolios up there.
Hmm.
And I think they can look through and just see like which ones they identify with and maybe pull from there. And then like work from there. Like look at what inspires you, what you like, and then you can base your portfolio off of that.
Okay, so sort of learning by example almost, and like by getting exposed to more different portfolio
Yeah,
styles.
yeah, different portfolio styles. And like okay, again, like I feel like this is very like I don't know how. Yeah, I understand you guys are like a course, but like
Mm-hmm.
um and so I don't know how much you want to encourage this.
Mm-hmm.
But in design school in particular in fashion, I don't think this is something that's very encouraged in product actually, or in a lot of other majors.
Mm-hmm.
But for us, like they actually encourage us to do non-traditional portfolios, like to not think of a portfolio as something which sounds so weird, I know, which has to be physical, which has to be like a printed matter. Like I don't know, it's I know it's very experimental the way I'm explaining it. I don't know if this works at all for you guys. But I guess like our professors and like Parsons really wants to go in direction of like don't view your portfolio as something that must be bound in a book that must be digital. It's like allow yourself to explore other mediums. Like maybe like I mean this is going about but like in the traditional sense of portfolio, like sometimes like we'll set up installations or like designers like my friend recently rented a little storefront in NYC and he just invited people like employers and press to come and like look through his work. Um and I don't know. I guess that's a little bit strange because I think this is more like artistic clearly and like putting you on more of a like personal level of discovery for how you choose to present your work. And like I understand that like this is something that like you have to have a lot of privilege and like a lot of other things to accomplish. But I mean that was just one example. And our professor was like, oh like maybe like you could do something performative or like things like that. Like don't view portfolio as something that's very bound. It's whatever you identify with and how you want to express your work to an audience.
Okay, thanks.
But that's very
Uh-huh.
experimental, and
Mhm.
I understand that's not probably what you're going for.
No, that's helpful to know. Sort of related to that, though, like
Mhm.
what's your purpose for having a portfolio? Maybe think less about other people and the fashion industry in general, but like just personally for you, what's the purpose of your
I
portfolio?
don't really have a portfolio.
Okay, tell me
No,
more
I
about
mean,
that.
I do have a portfolio, but like I think obviously for industry reasons, like you have to keep a very like professional portfolio. You have to keep like one that's digital and one that's physical. Just
Mhm.
because like I get that when you go on many interviews in America, at least it's not very. I think a lot of companies are not liberal. I don't like to use that word, but it's like I think they're very traditional companies who still have this expectation of what a portfolio is, like a traditional expectation of what a portfolio is. So that's also why like we also have always have these printed matter, like printed books and like um digital like websites, you know, to give them that. But for me personally, I don't think I view portfolio as something that's so like I don't want to use the word stressful, but because I feel like a lot of people stress over portfolio and how like it can represent yourself, blah blah blah. But I feel like for me, like I really like installations, and like I feel like every year when I present my work, because we have this thing called Open Studio, where at the end of the year, that's you put out all your work and you have people come and look. And I feel like for me, like that's how I really enjoy showing my portfolio is through these like little installations.
Okay. Um,
Yeah,
so do you have like any reference to any of the installations that you put up or
I
no?
do. Do
Okay,
you want
nice.
all those photos?
I don't know if you want to do a screen share right now and just sort of talk through, like maybe explain an example of what an installation looks like, or like,
Can I send you a picture of installation that's not mine?
um, I guess, but then, okay, let's maybe move a little
Okay,
bit away.
listen, Ann, this is my new
Mhm.
laptop, so I don't
Mhm.
really have all the photos.
Okay, okay, no problem.
So, like, that would mean I have to go get my other laptop,
Okay,
and I
don't worry
find
about
that
it.
comfy
But
right now.
it sounds like you sort of distinguish like the work you present in a portfolio in a different way than the work you present in an installation.
Hmm.
Like the installation is more of the non-traditional portfolio in the way
Yes,
you're
yes,
describing it.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and then like I don't know, yeah, but like I suppose like having a portfolio can get very philosophical, like
Mm-hmm.
depending on how you look at it. But yeah, I think it's just up to like I don't know what the goals of this course are. Again, like if you want to
Mm-hmm.
do something very traditional, very like business oriented, like very like
Mm-hmm.
help you organize, like have then like yeah, just like keep it like
Yeah,
uh,
don't worry about our course, honestly. Just like tell the story of how you made your portfolio or how you made your installations, or
let me
honestly, it's
see
like
if
your
I don't
documentation
have
of your work
photos.
process.
No, I don't have photos of that.
Okay, don't worry. Um,
Wait, how do I screen share?
so if you go to the bottom of this Zoom screen, there's a share screen
Oh,
button.
okay, let me find.
And I was thinking maybe we could walk through like one of the projects that you have up on your website, and you can
Okay.
sort of talk through the process of like how you documented your work, the work timeline, like what you chose to include in your portfolio, and what you didn't, and then eventually like I don't know, like the ultimate, just talk us through the process.
Okay, so let's go to my portfolio. Hope this website's still up.
It's working.
Okay, great. So okay, I'll just start with process um since this is I guess where everything
How
goes.
did you sort of separate between process collection and editorial?
I'll get to that.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. So all right. So this is process. I think Julie already went through this, but process is literally the most demoralizing part of design school. No, it's not. It's like the most
Mm-hmm.
important. But so process is basically our research step. And personally, I took a lot of time to research. I
Mm-hmm.
think I'm someone who really likes to be thorough with my research, and much of my research is, I think, it often starts off very like, or I would love for my research to always be very like factual, or like something that I can just go into books and find, because I think that's easier. But I think my research often ends up being a reflection of some sort of the self.
Mm-hmm.
So which leads to me like, I think, like having to write a lot of my thoughts and things like that. So again, like I talked about design identity. So all my research here is heavily edited, and
Mm-hmm.
it's heavily put together into my own stylistic choice. So okay, so again, the first two pages you see are my notes from my actual sketchbook.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to see my actual sketchbook? Actually, I think I have that on me.
Sure, if
Okay,
it's not too much of a hassle.
it's not.
Okay.
It's not. I don't have to go find that far because my bed. It's near my bed.
Okay, don't worry. Take your time.
Um, Hello, Anne. Okay,
Hey.
so again, what's on the website is heavily edited.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my thesis research notebook, and I have three of these, but I'm just
Oh,
gonna show you one because I don't
okay.
want to. But um, so a little background. My thesis was about basically how I think the concept of clothing is very limited. Or this is something that they stress a lot in fashion, is that like we want to expand the role of clothing, or like how can we further integrate clothing into our modern world? Like, because I think right now, I think at least like in design school, a big thing they'll tell you is that like, oh, like clothing is very one dimensional. Like right now, the way we think of clothing is something that like you just cover your body with, like blah blah blah. But like, how can clothing kind of be transformative? I think is a very big trend that they try to teach you.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like I was really attracted to the idea of toys and play, and because I personally really like to fiddle with things, as you know, because it drives me insane. But like, but I guess like I don't, yeah, it's a little bit like the fidget spinner, but let's not put it in like those basic bitch terms. Um, like, yeah, so like for me, it was just about how we can transform clothing into toy, because for me, that's something that's very easily linked, because I think clothing, like we don't, because I think right now much of the focus is on digital technology and how like clothing can be digital,
Mm-hmm.
and how like we have to integrate tech into everything in order to make clothing transformative. But I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, I think that's a little bit strange, because I think there's a lot of analog things about toys that are easily translatable into clothing
Mm-hmm.
without much effort, really. Um, so yeah, it started off with me. These are all my notes. I just
Mm-hmm.
like thoughts and like writing about toys. I get
Wow,
into
that
color.
notebook is huge.
Yes. And then I started. So for the research, I started going around to toy stores.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started looking at toys and collecting photos of toys. And I essentially broke it down into categories of characteristics of toys.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one. And then like this is like paper cutout dolls. This is like puzzles and things. Those are very specific type of puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then like this was just me like literally going into toy stores and like taking pictures of toys and then like writing down all their characteristics.
So did you write down the characteristics while you were in the toy store, or did you do this all when you got back home or something, or in the studio? And
When I got back home, but I made
okay,
multiple trips. Like I went
okay.
to like 3 or 4 toy stores, also just to see like what's different. Like I went to one in Menlo Park Mall that's like very small and intimate,
Mm-hmm.
and then I went to Toys R Us, and then I went to something in Times Square. Like it's a semi-big one, but it's not like a huge one.
Is it like the something FAO Shorts or
No, that
something?
closed. It's really
Oh,
close.
okay.
But it's like another one, and then like yeah, and I went to like another random one because I was like near school. So
Mm-hmm.
okay, and then this was like I think like Rubik's cubes and wood,
Mm-hmm.
and then yeah, like
And so
again,
when you were taking the pictures, were you sort of organizing these characteristics and like groupings in your head, like the cutout dolls, puzzles, and Rubik?
no, I just took sorry, not
Mm-hmm.
good, but I just took pictures of all the toys because I was just trying to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just took pictures of everything, and then I came home, and then like that was when like I I printed out all the pictures and I cut them up. I had to organize them like by category
Mm-hmm.
in a way that made sense to me.
Okay.
And it's also very weird, I guess, like because like when you're trying to design toys, I think it's very different because on the websites it's a little bit like strange. I think Julia went over that, but it's like very gendered and it was very weird. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think the way that they organize their toy stores organize their toys on their website really make a lot of sense from a design perspective, but like
Mm-hmm.
that's just me being shady. So
So you chose to focus more on like taking pictures of individual toys and sort of like not really taking the way that the stores were organizing their toys into account.
yeah,
Okay.
but again, I broke down to some key characteristics. I think I started over here. Yeah, so I found like touch was very important, color was very important, sound, and then like just going off into the concept of fun, I guess, like because like why are toys viewed as fun? Like what, like how do we bring them up? But basic just this, I realized that like after going through all the characteristics of toys, that like these are characteristics that are easily shared with clothing. Like
Mm-hmm.
what's important about toys is that it's important that toys have like stimulate a child's creativity. It's important that toys have touch and feel and texture to them, which clothing like does. And then it's important that toys have analog toys can have parts that are easily removable, which clothing does. And it's important that toys can be sound, it was volume, sound, color, shape, touch, and something else I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, but basically it's like, oh, these are all things that are easily translatable into clothing.
Mm-hmm.
But this, I have 3 more books of research,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm not gonna run through this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you get the basic gist, right, as I'm going through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then uh, I'll just go through my research with you. So then, like, I went to like trim stores. I went to like children's stores, and I just looked around and I broke down like how they did things and packaged things,
Mm-hmm.
just to better understand. And then I started brainstorming ideas, just really
Mm-hmm.
quick, rough ideas.
For your clothing?
Yeah,
Okay.
like just to see like how can I integrate clothing as toy, like just really
Mm-hmm.
quick. This was like I would say the first week of school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think those were, but of course like research is a process. But okay, so again, coming back to portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
So research is, I think, in any, like I think this is not something that's different from design or really any major, because it's like, oh, like you have to put in the work to really understand the subject matter you're studying.
Mm-hmm.
So I suppose like that's what we mean by process. But I suppose what's different about from process and research is that for us, we have to create something. It's a physical thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll see here, all right, this is my research, and then again, more of my notes, like how to come to it. And then you have the experiment. So
Mm-hmm.
to experiment for me was that like we have to actually create mock-ups of clothing to see like does this work? Does this doesn't like does this not work? And I think that's the most frustrating part is because it's a lot of trial and error. And again, for thesis, like this is very carefully documented, and I think they tried, because I have disagreements with the school about this, but they tried to give us like a long time to research.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So like so like a lot of it is trial and error, and for me personally, I think this is like where a lot of the struggle is in design. Oh, every designer like
Mm-hmm.
process is a struggle because process is where things don't work. You have to rework them. And on top of like them like not working, you have to like fucking document it. You have to document all the failures because like that's not like demoralizing to your self-esteem. Like
Did any of these like documentations of failure show up in your website at all?
um let's see. Well, okay, I guess okay, fine. Like I shouldn't say failure because
Mm-hmm.
um I like it's in design is like because process is failure. Like
Mm-hmm.
don't I guess like I shouldn't use the word failure, but I wouldn't say these are failed, but these were experiments that I tried to get that I had to do to get to where I my thesis ended up being.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I suppose that's why it's called process. But
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, like if you look at this page I have to experiment, none of those things made it to my end thesis. They were just like things I tried,
Mm-hmm.
and I, like they didn't end up working. Yeah, none of them ended up working, but you know, it was like an effort. And then a lot of what I did in the beginning, unfortunately, even though I was very passionate about this and like I spent a lot of time like doing research and like experimenting, I guess like I had many disagreements with my professor on how my project was turning out. And also like overall timeline of thesis, I think it was hard for me to accomplish what I wanted within the time frame.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you just have to rework itself. But yeah, I left all of this up because just because like I put in the research and I think like my research is actually very helpful information. And I think if anyone wants to continue, I'd be happy to like talk with them about what I found,
Mm-hmm.
and things I discovered. Um, so yeah, like I would say that let me see, is there anything important in this book? Is there anything?
So do you sort of like give an explanation for
Uh-huh.
how your experiments like sort of came out of your research, or is it more like pictures of your experiments and you sort of expect like other fashion designers to be able to like create the links between the research and what you've done just by looking at your pictures?
Well, I write it down pretty clearly.
Mhm. Okay.
So if you don't get it, then girl, I don't know how to help you.
Okay. Because I'm just seeing the pictures over here on your
Okay, well,
website.
you just sit your ass down and like read through my work, bitch. Like, I'm not gonna be easy and like tell you everything.
Is there like
Girl,
a book or something
yes, there
that
is a book.
okay.
But I, I don't want to
You
say
don't have to find
it.
it. But
there's,
like
there's like I have like 10 books from thesis,
mhm.
so we're gonna be here
Oh,
forever.
yeah, don't worry about it. Is
But
there a way for like people to find your work or book? Like how do people usually how do you expect people to find it?
oh, I don't. But
Oh.
like understand that I am not proud of my thesis. I think like most designers are, but I'm just like,
Mhm.
girl, like I just want to put that behind me and like I
Mhm.
never want to look at it again.
Mhm.
And like I am willing to accept that I'm a slave to corporate America
Okay.
because like I'm gonna quit my job and start a podcast. So anyway, back to portfolio. Um, back to portfolio.
Mhm.
So yeah, so after process is like, you know, create, blah, blah, research. Woo. Oh yeah, more research, more research. Okay, so I'm just gonna jump a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So then we get into creating actual clothing because hashtag fashion. Although this is something that's changing in Parsons, is that like it's not really expected for the year below me,
Mm-hmm.
actually, that they create clothing because they want to do again, like the school is very focused on expanding the definition of clothing and what clothing can be, and not keeping clothing to something that's necessarily you have to wear every day or even wear.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I know that sounds strange, but it's like it's really weird because it's like you view clothing as what is clothing. Clothing is a medium which is on the body.
Okay.
So like fashion is a medium which is on the body, and like how do you now expand that definition and create that? But for me, I still felt very strongly about creating clothes. So if you look at my actually hello I am lineup, this one, I don't know why it's not opening when I
Oh, you
oh
have to press that plus button, and then
yeah,
it's still small, so
it's
you
still
like
very
right click
teeny
it.
and like
And,
upsetting.
Mhm.
Okay, nothing.
So if you right click it and then you say like open image in a new tab or something, it gets
It's
bigger.
it's not that much bigger. Okay. Anyway, but you'll see like this is like where I ended up with like the themes I described earlier, like volume, customization, shape, sound. Um, and let's go to my collection now that I've talked you through process.
Mm-hmm.
So are you getting what process is? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I'm just not really seeing like the explanation for it through the way you present it in the process section of your website. It sounds
Okay,
like
yeah, that's because like I didn't want to.
okay, so
Like,
basic, can you talk more about that?
oh, you're not my therapist, bitch.
So, why did you present this project on your portfolio and website if you're not proud of it?
Because I had to. I was like for a grade.
So,
You're like
is
becoming low key my therapist right now. I don't. I'm feeling personally attacked, and I don't appreciate this.
okay. So is your website was your website graded? Like, what?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, so this was related to that portfolio class you were mentioning?
yes, yes,
And that was like after slash during thesis as well?
yeah,
Okay, so your portfolio's purpose is mainly like to get a grade for that class, not for like your own professional purposes
oh
or
god
anything.
no.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just to get a grade, and then like and like if yeah, yeah,
Did you get to sort of choose how you organized your portfolio and like the sections you would choose to create and what would show up on it?
yeah. So I basically went through a lot of senior portfolios in a year above me.
Hmm.
How they organize it, and like I based my organization off of that.
Okay.
I think often, lots of times, like I had a graphic section previously, but I decided to take that off.
Hmm.
But I think oftentimes, like a big problem with a lot of designers is that like they're like, I'm so good at everything, and it's like, girl, you're not.
Hmm.
Lots of sections with everything. It's like, oh, drawing, oh, watercolor, oh, graphics, oh, fashion, and I'm like, bitch, you're not that talented. Please check yourself. Like, check what you're good at. Like,
Hmm.
don't fucking be a slut and put everything on your website. I don't know how you're
Hmm.
gonna use anything I'm saying to
Hmm.
yourself, but good luck.
Okay.
Um,
No problem.
yeah. No, like so. Yeah, big problem is that a lot of designers just put like everything, and they want to say, "Oh, look how talented I am." And I'm like, "You dumb
Mm.
as shit, bitch. Not talented. You just look like you're desperate." Okay.
So did you choose to focus like specifically on fashion
Yeah,
because
because I
of
didn't want to look desperate.
that? Okay.
This is like getting very close.
All
And like
right.
yeah, so don't put choose what you're good at, basically.
Okay, got it. And
Don't be a whore. Okay.
you chose what you were good at, and that's how like what made it into this portfolio
Yes.
website.
Yes.
Got it.
Exactly. Like no one cares that much about your life. Like
Mhm.
I see like all these artists with like personal blog sections. I'm like, girl, no one cares that much about your life. Like, save that shit from social media. Yeah, because a lot of times I want to incorporate my personal life into this. Like, let me have a blog section, or
Mm-hmm.
like in their notebook. Like, I mean, no, nothing wrong with it actually if you do it in a very tasteful manner. But most people don't. Like, if you like want to like keep like your personal like diary along with your sketchbook and like
Okay.
research, or like because it's just like, oh, this is part of me.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'm like, yeah, like it's you do it in a tasteful manner, it's totally fine. Or like if you do it on your website, you're like, oh, like you have a blog section. I think that's totally fine. But it's just like no one cares.
Okay.
So
So,
like this is a personal opinion. I'm gonna stop right there. So
okay.
yeah, and then so we go in from process into collection, which is the end result actually.
Okay.
Um,
So sorry to interrupt you really quick, but for everything that showed up in your process, did you have to create any of that like sort of after the fact, or like was that just all part of your thesis documentation process and you sort of picked and chose, like you said, it's highly edited, so
yes, I pretty much pick and like you. Well, this is something I'm gonna tell you because like again, like your first tell you, no one cares.
mm-hmm,
Not untrue. Like
mm-hmm,
no one, if you go on an interview, is going to sit down and be like, tell me all your emotional scars, you know, like
mm-hmm,
from your process, because like they just don't care. So it's like
mm-hmm,
just simplify it to an elevator 15-minute pitch.
mm-hmm,
That's very important. Is how like you should be able to explain your portfolio. Actually, in less than that, it tells you should be explaining in 7 minutes.
mm-hmm.
Um, and if you would like me to do that, I will. But
Um, we don't have to go to the elevator pitch, but if we could go really quick back to your process section and you can sort of like just talk really briefly about like how you chose like or why you chose to like incorporate certain things in that. Like why did you think it was important to include like the pictures of like the certain pictures that you had
okay,
in your research process?
okay,
You
fine.
said there are like three sketchbooks, right? So how did you
Yeah,
sort of
okay,
pick
let's
which
go
ones were
back. Let's
important?
go back. Let's go back. All right, it's fine. Okay, so okay, first sketchbook, just because like I think this is what I resonated the most with.
Mm-hmm.
And the other sketchbooks were like I got a little bit more lost because that
Okay.
was very unpleasant. And like I don't know, it's just again like I think a lot of research is like organizing your thoughts. I don't think this is exclusive to design at all. Like
Mm-hmm.
anyone who does a thesis will tell you. And I just think that like this is information that I found the most interesting and the most something people can bounce off of.
Mm-hmm.
I think my other sketchbooks, like the information in there is a little bit like for me like weaker.
Okay.
And like that those two sketchbooks have it's those two sketchbooks were like again like because like this is the first one, the other two got more into like actually prototyping and trying to make things work. And again, I mentioned previously, like I had disagreements with my professor. So I think like those are very representative of deep personal like my struggle of trying to kind of work with her understanding of my thesis and
Mm.
my own. And I think that was a struggle.
So is that why you have the I am lost sort of image as part of
Yeah,
process?
yeah. So like
Okay.
yeah, so like and like that was a struggle and like I think that's very evident if you read my two other sketchbooks, which I don't expect anyone to because like like
Hmm.
the thing is look at how
Maybe
big.
I'll go into a museum one day.
I hope not. That's embarrassing. Like Vincent Van Gogh's like love letters got published. I'm like that shit's traumatizing. Like
Mm-hmm.
God, I hope I don't die famous.
But at
Um,
least he was dead already.
that's still traumatizing. They don't honor a man by publishing his love letters.
Mm,
That's
okay.
disgusting. What's wrong
Okay.
with society?
Okay. Got it.
Anyway,
Mhm.
anyway, um, so yeah, basically, like for me, I think those two sketches are very representative of like my struggle and and like of course, like I think the information in there was weaker as well,
Mhm.
just because like I think I was trying to focus like my prototyping on like two separate, very separate, strong ideas
Okay.
about my thesis. So like I just think it's very confusing information, and I think it's information that's weaker. Like the research itself is weaker.
Okay.
I didn't necessarily present like anything from those other than the last, which is like my lineup or like clothing mock-ups I came up with for my actual thesis in that direction.
Okay, got it. And are
Yeah.
these all like pages that show up in your thesis book at some point, or did
Yes.
you? Okay.
Yes. These are I printed this book out. This little thing itself is actually one book. And
Mm-hmm.
I did a branding project.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is important and I should show you.
You don't have to, but if you think it's important, you want to, go for it.
I feel like I mean, what?
Okay, thanks.
Um, okay. I've got like 10 more books, so I'm just gonna show you like two briefly.
Okay.
So this is actually a section of my. Yay! Do you see it? Do you see how
Yeah,
nice it is?
yeah,
Isn't
it's
it
really
beautiful?
nice. Did
Yeah,
you make
thanks.
it?
Yes, I did. I did everything. I founded
Nice.
it myself. Look. Let me be proud for 2 seconds. Okay.
Okay.
So this is actually, if you go through this book, let me flip here for you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go through this book, this is actually a very small section of this book that I edited, and I think this information was very important because this is where I read through this. Do you know Richard Serra?
No, sorry.
Okay, well, Richard Serra is a very important artist. No
Mm-hmm.
judgment if you don't know, but he basically has this theory that about how to create art and how modern art. I think he kind of like helped to expand the definition of art and like really create modern art, which is a lot of pieces of people do. Oh, so silly, blah blah blah. But I think like much of art is about what it stands for, not necessarily the end product.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So basically, like he had this way of creating art of like how do you push a boundary of a material is that he has this list here, which is a list of actions like
Mm-hmm.
to burn, to scatter, to rearrange, to repair, to comfort, to like crease, like all these other these like a list of actions. So he said in order to test a material, he's like in the most analog way, he's like just do actions onto that material to see how that material will react.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this for me is a big part of my material study. Again, yeah, see, I think I might about toys, but like it led me to like this tangent.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I actually like I thought that like this would be a great way of helping me achieve a material of fabric or shapes that were toy like. Um, so what I did was that if you look through this book, these were 12 experiments just because like it's like this was like how he did things, and I documented each one of these actions I did to the fabric.
Okay.
So what I did was bonded plastic.
Mm-hmm.
Like I bonded God, I don't remember. It's an acetate type. Bonded that to a silk stretch spandex, just because one object will move and the other won't, just to see what would happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did 12 experiments just to test the limits of those materials. Yeah, and
Okay.
then I kind of like carefully like document like these are the actions and then these are the results. And then where's my little blurb? Maybe it's over here. Yeah, and then I would write like my research findings.
And so, did those research findings sort of influence the work that you did later on?
No, it did not, which is why I had a lot of disagreements with my professor.
Ah, okay.
Um, and but yeah, again, I think this is very important information, and
Mhm.
I think like even like as a material study, I think it's good for other designers.
Mhm.
So like I am quite proud of this part actually
Okay, so
of
if
my
you're proud
thesis.
of that part, how come you didn't choose to incorporate it in like your portfolio?
It is on my portfolio.
Well, there's an image of it, kind of, but
Yeah, but I also think like this is printed matter.
okay.
So if I were to go, I would just throw them the book.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, and then like I also feel like again like it's kind of it's like weird, but it's like I feel like I guess this is a personal hurdle I need to get over because this just my mind keeping me. But it's like I also didn't want to have too much research on my website
Mhm.
just because like I feel like again people don't care.
Mm.
Like it's like for professional reasons, it's like yeah, no one wants to like sit down and have like an hour-long conversation about your life, bitch. Um,
So who are you expecting to sort of look at your portfolio?
no one. We've been over this.
Okay, gotcha.
No one. We've been over this.
But just in case someone did, then you still don't want to waste their time, apparently.
Yeah, just in case.
Okay.
Yeah, but like if you hired me off of this girl, bye. You're the dumb one. Um, okay, and then I have two more books, and
Nice.
then I got like more. Do you know how much money thesis was, Anne? Are you beginning to understand my financial struggles?
Does the school not like provide some sort
Oh,
of
you want to see a
discount?
magic trick? It's double. It's
Oh,
double. Look, if you did this way,
wow.
right? You know how much fucking money this was?
And
Anyway,
time. Mostly
what?
time.
Yeah. And again, I designed everything. I printed
Mhm.
everything. This is my
Mhm.
fucking portfolio. So yeah. And then I have the physical shoes that I'm not gonna go grab from the closet.
Mhm. You
Um,
have like everything required for your own museum exhibition one day.
I know. And my professor still told me I wasn't good enough. So that didn't cause me emotional scars of I
Mm,
tried really hard.
mm.
And then it's like Loki's like, no, I didn't want to be in an exhibition. Loki went home and cried.
Mm,
But
sorry.
yeah, and then I have more books here, but I don't want to show you the ones I don't like, so I'm
Yeah,
not gonna.
don't worry about it. You said you
Uh,
wanted to go on to collection, and we can sort of like go through collection editorial kind of quick. I know the interview is dragging on a little bit, and I want to
yeah,
respect your time.
thank you. You don't respect me at all. I know that. You
Wow.
don't have to pretend you respect me, and I've been friends with you long enough to know that you don't. So,
Wow.
but I hope you think I'm doing better than Vincent.
Oh, no, definitely.
Okay, great. So, why does my hair look so ratchet? I just washed it.
Oh, your email and phone number are on here too. Wow.
Yeah, so I can be stalked. Um, I have no LinkedIn, by the way.
That makes sense. LinkedIn doesn't seem like a great place for a fashion designer to show
Well, I
off
mean,
their
you
work.
should just have one if you plan on surviving in society.
I mean, it's not that important.
Okay, so anyway, so moving on to collection. So this is the end result. Like collection is end product
Hmm.
for us. So obviously it's very important to show this. And do you want me to explain to you what a collection is?
You don't have to explain what a
Okay.
collection like generally is, but if you can sort of explain like why this is like your like what is this and why do you call it your collection?
Okay, so in fashion, or actually in like a lot of things, because it's like, I guess like what the fuck are you supposed to call it? It's like 12 things that go together.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, okay, I have eight, but it's like a
Mm-hmm.
series of things that go together,
Okay.
like in a cohesive manner that you look at. So
Right.
you can have a collection of toys, you can have a collection, like, yeah, a collection, like you collect stuff.
So does the order matter here in your collection or is it
Yes, they will stress the shit out of order in
oh,
design school.
oh,
So basically, this is my lineup, and a lineup is something that designers present,
mhm.
and it's like the order of their work. and just stills of like their end product, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like because okay, so from the process, you understand that I was trying to work with toys, trying to make clothing more analog and make it like toys.
Mm-hmm.
And how I ended up with, so the first one is that you'll see this little, like, do you see the lime green, like, little accordion thingy?
Right.
Yeah, so that the skirt actually unbuttons and you can play it because there's like beads in it.
Mm-hmm.
And like it'll like make sound and like whistles and bells. And like the top part of her vest, all those little packets are actually also sound like when you press in them, if you press on them.
Mm-hmm.
I put like little different things in there so like you can play with that. Oh, and fun fact, all the shoes they're wearing can be customizable.
Okay,
So
so like,
like there's like yeah, like I ended up going I think the route of like customization
mm-hmm.
just because I thought that was like the happiest medium I could find to meet my professor halfway.
Mm-hmm.
Like yeah, I won't get into that, but like that. So like a lot of my end result ended up being a lot about customization and things. So right, so basically like you'll see all the shoes, all those like little flowers you see actually can come off, come back on. You can turn them over, they spin. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then the next look is I actually really like this look because like it doesn't do this like crazy volume and like all these like flaps that but what's attached to your shoulder, those three, they're actually like juggling balls.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like three of them. So my idea was like here four, you can just juggle on the spot. And I showed the other set just because like I think in this photograph it looks better. But I made a second set in purple
Mm-hmm.
and attach on the skirt, also on the shoulder, and like that's pretty fun. And they're all magnetic. The
Okay.
next look is just a kit because my jacket, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna make a jacket. Yeah. So I mean, like is like texture about toys. Like all the red things coming out are actually like feathery, like
Mm-hmm.
feather material. So when you run your hand along, it actually feels pretty cool.
Hmm.
Um, the next one is dress. That's like pretty cool because it's like that bottom part. These are all pillows that I made and I
Mm-hmm.
sewed together. You can like take that off, you throw it as a blanket, you can like just sleep with it. Like something I noticed about a lot of children's toys is that they're very soft and like they kind of double as nursery items,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty cool. But like that's like that dress is like representing that. And then the next one is like the most customizable because okay, so you can't see all the sides on this,
Mm-hmm.
which I realized I should have done a video, but I ran out of money and I was
Mm.
tired and I really wanted to sleep.
Okay.
And like I like did not want to do this anymore. But
Mm-hmm.
so like basically like that smiley face, you can like turn it however you want. All those like the face can actually come off and there's like other faces you can put on there if you want.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other side she has tic-tac-toe. So if you want to play tic-tac-toe, you can like play tic-tac-toe. Cause okay, so it's like basically like it's like a like this. It's like this actually with circles.
Mm-hmm.
I just am doing Illuminati side.
Now,
Oh,
would she have to like turn
oh,
it around to
yeah,
actually
yeah. So
play
like,
it?
so there's like buttons here, so you can like take that off, you can turn it around, you can take
Okay.
it off, and also the idea is that you can just take it off, go on a play date, unfold it,
Okay.
and like it can like double as a mat, and like when you're done with your kids, you just like wrap them back up.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, and then there's another side which is like a teddy bear, and then all of these are actually double sided because I'm crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I chose to be that ambitious because it just ended up being super heavy and like you couldn't even move it. And when crits came, I was like, yeah, like totally move this, so easy. No, couldn't move it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's actually a six-sided toy. So one side is tic-tac-toe, one side is like a bed for your teddy bear, one side is a smiley face, and then I think one side was like, oh, like you can toss, like you can throw like balls on it, it'll stick to it.
Wait, how are there so many sides? I'm seeing just like two main sides of the sort of circle thing.
Because it's inside, you can flip it inside out. It's
Oh,
reversible.
okay. So there are like four sides in total.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
there's like no 6 sides, so it's three and three.
Wait, what's the third one?
There, it's like this. One circle, one circle, one circle in the back.
I am seeing like
Okay,
one
don't
circle.
okay, don't worry about it. Just
Okay,
trust me on
okay,
this because
okay,
we're friends.
gotcha,
Just trust me.
gotcha.
Okay.
I
Uh,
guess there's a hidden side on the back and it's kind of a triangle.
yes.
Okay.
Okay. Like,
Okay.
forget. So yeah, that's like that's that. And then the next one is there's like bells in her pants. So if you rustle them, they'll make sounds.
Oh,
Like the pleating part.
nice. Yeah, yeah, I think I
Yeah.
see them.
And then I just made giant gloves because I was like, that's gonna look dope. So I made giant gloves for her. And then this little accordion part comes on and off.
Mm-hmm.
And then all basically every like that top she's wearing can just be assembled by yourself. That's
Okay.
kind of the point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how like God bless anyone who can figure out what I designed, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like it can actually like come up and like be thought by and everything.
So is that
Uh,
the same top as in the next one?
yes. Yes. The next one is the same top, and then a fun fact: that skirt she's wearing is actually the same skirt as the one after that.
Huh.
Um,
Okay.
so yeah, so that's the skirt without any like customization to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last look is like the same skirt, but what I did is I made these gigantic circles and other geometric shapes, so you can just kind of put them in like whichever way you like, and
Okay.
like you can get like multiple looks out of a skirt. And then the thing she's wearing on top, the little circle thing, is detachable, and it's actually like um I'm sure you can play those where it's like you can turn it and you can try to get the ball in.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you can turn that and try to like shake everything like into like one little area because like those are like beads.
Okay.
So it's like a little game you can play if you're bored, like
Mm-hmm.
me.
Nice.
So yeah, that's my collection.
Okay.
Uh, that yeah, I'm not all that proud of. So going on,
You
moving
have a description for your collection like in your book or somewhere else, right?
on. Sure.
Okay, okay, sure.
So next we go on to editorial. I kind of went over this already.
Mm-hmm.
What like
So
editorial is?
basically, you're saying this is like more focused on communication, media, press.
Yes. And just because they're like, it's really fun. Like
Uh-huh.
editorials are super. Like I like them because it's super fun and like you get to like bully people around. It's like really fun. You get to yell at people the whole time. Like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, editorials are just fun. So I love to do them. They're very expensive,
Mm-hmm.
but they're really fun. Um,
So for
yeah, and then
this
you.
editorial, what you focus on?
What do you mean? What did I focus on?
Like, what was your goal for this editorial? How did you sort of
Well,
choose the way things
okay,
turned
so
out?
like I just want. Okay, I also got stuck with a shitty model, which is not
Mm-hmm.
fun.
Okay.
But I just wanted to show like the clothes and how they move and change.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that jacket isn't on my thesis. What the hell? Forgot
Yeah.
to put it in my line sheet. Damn. How'd I fucking miss that shit? What? Okay. Oh yeah, I can't remember now, but this jacket is my OG jacket, and all those circles come off and they come back on.
Mm.
Super cool jacket.
Sort of similar to the skirt idea, but like,
Yeah, but that was like one look. Oh right, my professor hated that jacket.
okay.
Yeah, I remember now. Oh, I remember because I was really salty and really angry, and I was like, I want the jacket, and she's like, the jacket doesn't look good, and I was like, fucking looks dope, bitch. Yeah, she hated that jacket, right? So that's why I didn't have it on there.
Okay, so your professor had like a major say in sort of the final
Yes.
research, the final thesis result,
I mean, like, I have final say, but I'm
right?
a bitch.
Okay,
And,
so
like, I'm afraid of standing up to authority.
okay, got it.
All right, so we good? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Why? And seriously, my hair looks so ass. I can't believe it looks so ass right now.
Okay, I'm going to stop recording right now if that's cool with you.
Wait, I have some more to talk about.
Okay, sure. I just
Yeah,
wanted to make sure that you didn't say things that you didn't want recorded.
you can record me. It's not like I'm trying to get a job out of this.
Okay.
Anyway, so I already went through editorial, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Yeah.
well,
So
briefly, yeah.
all right. So like it's like fun. Like I like doing cut-ups. That's very my aesthetic. Um, a lot of these photos away. I don't know. I don't think that frame works there. So I think I told just to show a little bit of fun, a little bit of internet culture. Oh, there's like the little do you see it? That's a little bed for your teddy bear.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the
And
bed
are
for
those like Z's or something?
yeah, there's a little Z's.
Okay.
Do you see the quilting on that pillow? I fucking quilted that shit myself.
Ah.
I spent like an hour or two quilting a pillow for one side of that skirt.
Mm.
So if you ever ask me what I did during thesis, that.
Okay.
Okay.
It looks nice. I'll give you that. It looks kind of
Oh,
small for a
there's
teddy
another
bear.
side here. You can see it on this one. See, this is another side. So these are like, yeah. So we took the mouth off, and like those are like the other eyes, and those are actually pockets. So you can
Oh,
attach pockets to it if you'd like.
nice.
Right. But now I'm looking at this, I don't like how I edited that.
Is there any reason why you like chose to not have any captions or text to go
Oh,
on your
that's tacky. You
Oh,
never have captions or text. Like that's
uh-huh.
like we're not engineers, no offense.
Uh-huh.
Like like that's so like engineering school are like memes, you know, like so gross, like so tacky, so basic. Yeah. You
Okay.
never have text.
Okay. So
Unless it's like classy, like unless you're like you want to do like that classy bullshit, then you can have it. But like in like theater, no, you never have text. And you never spiral bound anything.
okay.
Yeah, like spiral bounding in design school is like unless you're in product, I guess, because that's like kind of like anal, like pretend to like that's a little bit like more profesh, like
Mm-hmm.
corporate-y. But like, yeah, if you fucking like spiral bound something in fashion, you'll literally be an outcast. It's just like, who is this freshman? And like, how did they get in here? Not acceptable.
All
Anyway,
right. So
moving.
fashion industry culture essentially.
Yes,
Gotcha.
yes. Moving on. Editorial. Right, and then I'll just go through my editorials with you, but you get the basic gist of these, and I don't think this is necessarily important to
Is there like why did you choose to include these projects?
no, these are ones that are I personally feel like the photos turned out very well and I'm very proud of.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think like I did very interesting things because I'm very into textiles and I feel like these editorials kind of show that off.
Okay.
Because also previous sorry.
It's okay.
So basically like yeah, more or less that like because I do a lot of textile stuff. Yep.
Okay.
And you can see that here. And then it's just the about page and contact.
Right. I
Yeah.
noticed your video bio thing with falling fabrics, and it seemed kind of avant-garde personally, but and
I
there was
mean,
like an Adobe Illustrator resume file. Like I don't have Adobe Illustrator, so can you just like give a one sentence like summary of what kind of shows up if you open that?
that's my resume.
Oh, so it's like literally a resume, but you just choose to have it in Adobe Illustrator format?
Yeah, so no one can hire me.
Okay.
So no one can see it.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I think I gotta go.
Okay. Sounds good.
Was any of the information I gave you helpful?
Yeah, that was pretty helpful. You have a completely different like approach to your portfolio than Julia does, definitely, because yours
Like
is more like
less self-loathing.
yeah. Yeah, you're just like, oh, I don't really have a portfolio. This is
I mean, I do,
more
but
for like a class assignment. So it's a very different perspective.
yes, yes. I don't know. I think the difference is when you have someone who's proud of their work and someone who's not.
Hmm.
if,
Okay.
if I don't like okay, it's like realistically, like I think like with everything I have, like I'm not stupid. I think like I'm like understand I make a lot of self like depreciating jokes and stuff. Like
Mhm.
I think I have a pretty good skill set, and I think I'm pretty strong
Mhm.
in wise. And like I'm not worried about not getting a job because I feel like if I just showed this to an employer and I showed them like not my mental scars like research, but like if I showed them like I'll just go through this very quickly because
Mhm.
look, double
Okay.
sided, so cool, all right, so cool, so cool, so cool. And if I showed you like like I'm capable of doing flats and things,
Uh-huh.
this is for shoes, but like if I showed you like hey I'm capable of doing flats, I'm capable of doing like things like this,
Uh-huh.
like they'll be like oh yeah of course you're hired. Like I'm not yeah. And like I also think like for me like I'm not very stressed about like finding a I don't know, like I don't I've been very hashtag blessed that like I've always had people like offer jobs to me.
Okay. So you're not planning
Or
on
really
updating your portfolio or anything anytime soon. It was more of a one-time thing for Parsons, like the portfolio class.
out of school I already like kind of had a job. So it was like,
Mhm.
okay, like I don't need to update my portfolio.
Okay.
And then like literally like all my jobs have kind of been I just sound so bad and arrogant, like just kind of have been like given to me.
Mhm.
Like they'll find you like through personal relations and like
Mhm.
there's not even like a portfolio like they don't even interview me.
Okay.
They're just like, oh, we heard that like you worked at DKNY and these credentials, like would you be willing to work with us? I'm like, yeah, sure.
Okay.
So like I also understand like I like I know I'm very that like I haven't necessarily needed to go on any edit my portfolio just fall out of the sky for me.
For your first job, did you like link to your portfolio or anything or
No, because it was an internship. Like
okay.
I interned for this company for like an entire summer, the summer before thesis,
Uh-huh.
and they actually asked me like, would you be willing to come back after you graduate? I said yes.
Okay.
So what ended up happening was that my boss, who was at my old company, ended up
Mhm.
becoming the career director at DKNY,
Mhm. All right.
which is why she was like, she offered me the job. She was like, "Do you just want to come work with me at DK?" She's like, and I was like, "Yeah, like sure."
Okay.
So like, I didn't, you know,
Were
uh,
the installations like more helpful for you career-wise or anything or
I think that was a personal thing I did for like personal satisfaction and personal like thing, but
okay.
I won't get into all the problems with the design industry because there are many, and
Okay.
I'll be here forever.
No, no,
Yeah.
that sounds good. Thanks for your time. And a lot of what you shared like was really helpful. I didn't know too much about like fashion at all, really, and I still don't, but you helped shed like a
We've been best friends for fucking 10 years? More than 10? We've been best friends for like how long?
I don't talk to you about like database architecture.
You could because we're friends.
Do you want me to at some point?
No. Oh,
Exactly.
shit.
Okay. But yeah, let's talk another time, probably like when we both have more time. But yeah, thanks for your time again.
No problem. I'm hungover AF. Good night, Anne. I'm going to bed.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye. How do I close out of this? Motherfucker.